Hey, friend, welcome back to another episode of Ash to Dusk. Before we dive into the whole hypertension topic, I just want to take a moment and ask you, how are you? And no, really, how are you doing? When's the last time that you actually asked yourself that and you've checked in with yourself and you really let yourself feel all the things right now? And maybe it's happiness. Maybe there's a lot of great things going on in your life. And it's just a reminder to pause. If you listen to the midweek moment that dropped on Wednesday, so every Wednesday you're going to get a midweek moment. We talked about feeling happiness. So maybe things are going great. And for some, maybe you're really struggling right now and you are internalizing everything. You're afraid to talk about what's going on. You feel like you need to keep it all together. And so you're holding on to it. So I just want you to take a moment and check in with yourself. I'm hoping that you are joining me from a really comfy chair or a bed or a couch or just somewhere or something that can support you and hold you while you take care of yourself for a moment. I know I'm in my comfy podcasting chair and I've got my robe on and my blanket. I also have water with me, so we're going to be talking about this a little bit more today, but I have my water and I also have my journal next to me as well. But grab a journal. It's always good to write your thoughts down as they come because it will help just release all of that from your mind. So there is so much going on in the world right now. When this episode comes out, I don't know what the decision will be on the SNAP benefits and the government shutdown, but this has been something that has been so heavy on my heart, and I haven't shared my thoughts or opinions on it on social media just yet because I really do want to see how this kind of plays out for a moment. But I know that if you are watching this and you're counting on SNAP benefits, you must absolutely be terrified right now. If you're watching this and you work in TSA or any federal employee and you are not receiving a paycheck, I can't imagine how you feel right now. And I want you to kind of take that in for a moment and recognize that it's okay to feel afraid and nervous and anxious because it's a scary time, and that is for sure. And I wish that there was a magic wand that I could wave to help, and I can't, but I can sit here with you right now and 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 be a support from maybe a far distance. So I say that because when we stress out and when we are anxious and we're constantly worrying about things, stress does a number on our bodies. And we oftentimes don't even see it or recognize or know what's happening. We just feel stressed and anxious, right? And we push through because that's what we have to do. But then at some point in time, it kind of catches up to you. And so we'll kind of segue into the topic of hypertension. And before we do that, I want to make sure that, I state this to you, but I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a doctor. I'm not even, I'm not a therapist or anything like that. And I say this because when I share my stories or information with you, I want you to just take it as a resource. My therapist said this to me the other day, and it was so helpful. She was like, remember, you're a resource for people. You don't have to rescue everyone. And I want you to kind of take that on yourself. You might be helping a lot of people in your life. You're not really meant to save and rescue everybody, but you can absolutely be a resource. And so I'm a resource for you. It doesn't mean that everything I say or do is going to be just right for you, but my hope is that you will take some of the information, or maybe something that I share some of the things will be helpful to you. And so my hope is that if there's just one thing that you can get and that it helps, that it works, and that would make me very happy. And so, yeah. All right. So hypertension, here we go. If you haven't been a part of my keynote, then you may not know this. So I kind of want to start how did I even know that I had hypertension? So at 32 years old, I was diagnosed with high blood pressure. And we got to that point really because I showed up to the doctor to get medicine to fly. Now, in the next episode, we're going to be talking about like the fear of flying and how to overcome that. Um, but so we're not going to get into that right now, but I went to the doctor to get medication to fly because I had such a phobia of flying. It was really, really bad, and I needed to be able to do it for work. So I go to the doctor, we talk, they take your vitals just like they normally do. And, she said, Ashley, your blood pressure is really high. And I'm like, well, yeah, probably because I'm here talking about flying and I want to, I need some help. And she's like, no, it's high. And we don't want you having a stroke. Like, we really got to talk about this. I was like, oh my goodness, So I can't remember the exact number at that time, you guys, but it was something like my numbers were reading anywhere between like 150 something, 167, over anywhere between in the 90s or like 100, 100, and sometimes even 10 when I would take it at home later on. So my numbers were pretty elevated. And so they had me drink water and lay down for a minute. She really didn't want me to leave. And then I was like, I got to go on this work trip. I'll come back to the office and we could talk when I get back. And, she was like, all right, you got to come back. And I really want you on medicine. And my stubbornness was like, I don't want to take medicine. I don't know exactly why that has been. I think part of it is whenever I have taken medicine before, so birth control when I was a teenager to help with like terrible periods or anything like that, I could always tell that it affected my body differently. Maybe that's just because I have always naturally been an anxious person. And so I would take medicine and then I would just manufacture things. I mean, I'm not sure why it's been that way. I just really wanted to avoid taking medication. I also think there has just been this, well, actually, no, if I'm being really real, that's what this is about, right? Real conversations, the messy middle of life. I think there's a couple of other reasons why I've never wanted to take medication. And one, I had this like thought that if I start taking medicine, I'm not healthy. There's something wrong with me. I felt shame around that because I watch other people in my life or my family take medicine instead of just trying to actually fix and solve what's going on. So I had that mentality. And I also know that doesn't serve me anymore, right? Like that's not always the truth. Like two things can be true at once. Like I've kind of said before, like, yes, there are some people who might take medicine and either abuse it or don't really want to work on the underlying issue. And then some who truly need it because, they don't have a thyroid to produce the hormone that they need that needs produced. Like, I mean, there's like legitimate reasons why we take medicine and it's such a blessing. So I also want to just clarify and emphasize that. So I had that outlook. And then the other piece was there was addiction in my family and people that I knew. And a lot of the addiction that I knew about or have known about has been through like alcohol and also pills. And for me, I just was always like, I don't want that to affect my life. And there was a short period of time in my life where I was experimenting and using, and that's a different conversation for another time. But I just was always afraid of that. So I don't know. So I just thought, oh my gosh, if I start taking blood pressure medication, that's it. I'm unhealthy. I'm in the school nutrition space. So who am I? Once again, I'm having like all these like terrible self-talk moments that don't serve me. And anyway, she convinced me a month later, within a month's time, like, you need to take the medicine. Now, before I actually decided to take the medicine, I probably should back up to that. I said to the doctor, like, there's got to be something wrong here. Like, I'm 32, I'm not really overweight. I know I'm not like the healthiest in terms of like what I eat. I drink a lot of pop. But there's got to be something wrong here, And she's like, probably not. But I have awesome doctors. I love them so much. And so she was like, all right, let's do a workup. Let's go ahead. Let's like, we'll send you to University Hospital and they can, scan your chest and we'll just make sure there's no blockage. They checked my kidneys. I mean, they did a full-blown workup, you guys. And what did it come back as? Absolutely nothing to cause my hypertension other than stress and not taking care of myself. That's what it came down to. Is it in my family? Yes, it is. And can genetics play a role? Yes. But if we jump forward to a conversation I had with a doctor recently at the Cleveland Clinic, that he looked right at me and said, your genetics are not an excuse to not take care of yourself. And I was like, okay, point taken. I get it. So anyways, but during that workup of all those tests, nothing came back showing why I would have high blood pressure other than lifestyle. But what did come back is that my aorta is dilated, kind of like a borderline aneurysm. One test will show that it's an aneurysm. Another one shows that it's dilated, borderline. So I'm going to choose to go with the dilated borderline one with the cardiologist's approval at the Cleveland Clinic. And that's what we're going with because I'm telling you right now, it's a mental mind beep. I want to say the word, but it's a mental game, right? And so I don't want to go there. So, but that was caused more than likely due to hypertension. There could be genetic factors, but we had genetic testing done. And so there's that. And there wasn't any markers there. So the plan is, or was supposed to be, to take medicine because we really want to keep this under control. Because if you have uncontrolled hypertension, your aorta can continue to dilate and go into a full-blown aneurysm, which is not great. And so I was like, all right, I got to really take this serious. I was taking my medicine. Of course, I didn't like the way it made me feel because it was bottoming out my numbers a little bit. I could get my top number just right, or my top number would get too low, and then my bottom number would get to where it needed to be. I would get healthy for a moment, and then I would go off the rails again. And it's just been a journey, an ebb and flow. So I have been on and off medicine for quite a few times, and I've been off of it for a little while now. And I wanted to just share with you some things that I have learned on this journey, because I know that many of you watching have hypertension. Maybe you are a diabetic, have some other chronic health issue. And what I have learned really can help in all of those areas. Please take your medicine. Okay, I want to say that. Take your medicine until you have been cleared by your doctor to do anything other than that. But I have found that when you take care of yourself, your body starts to heal. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. I don't want to jinx it, but I've been able to manage my hypertension for a little bit of time now without medication. So we had worked with, in the school district that I was a food service director in, we had partnered with a local hospital and as part of like our wellness program. And the cardiologist that really started this ambassador program, it came about because he thought, my goodness, I am having more and more patients coming into my office that are younger and younger every year, like into their 30s, sometimes even into their 20s. And he was just like, we really need to get to these kiddos when they're at a much younger age. So we partnered with this hospital to help with education around all things wellness. And I had, we had asked, like, what are the pillars, and his whole program really focused on 5 areas of wellness that I want to share with you because they have helped me tremendously. Now, in the moment when we first partnered with them, I didn't have hypertension. I didn't know about that. But boy, oh boy, when I took it seriously, things have changed. So there are 5 key areas that have helped me, and this is because of a cardiologist out of Altman Hospital, Dr. Shaw. So here we go. All right, the first one is nutrition. So I have never been great at eating like fruits and vegetables in a well-balanced plate, because in my culture, which was Italians, okay, like my grandma's from Italy, and our diet consisted heavily of pasta, bread, a little bit of salad, but pasta and bread, okay? You get the picture. And then on my mom's side of the family, it was just everything was high sodium from the time I can remember, so whether if it was hot dogs or different kinds of red meat, lots of TV dinners, okay? Anyone remember the TV dinners with like the brownie in there? I remember all of that, okay? So a lot of frozen foods or French bread pizzas or so we we ate a lot of different foods, but it didn't really consume we didn't have a lot of fruit and vegetables in our diet, okay? And as far as like water, we'll get to that. That was really non-existent. So, nutrition and being in school nutrition, right? We are always saying to our students, you must take a fruit or a vegetable on their tray for it to count as a reimbursable meal. So my school nutrition friend, if you're watching, you get this. But if you're watching and you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about, in school nutrition, in order to get reimbursement for a meal from the government, it has to be a complete meal. And the government says they have to take at least a fruit or a vegetable on their tray. And so when I go around and I do my keynotes and I ask school nutrition professionals, how many of you are eating your fruit and vegetables? How many of you are consuming enough protein? And most people don't raise their hand. So if we're in that space, right, we want to also be educating our students, not by telling them, but by through action. And I talked about that in the second episode, as far as like our kiddos seeing us happy and thriving. They need to see us acting upon the things that we're just we're not just saying it to them, right? So anyways, I kind of got off topic or off course there, but nutrition, fruits, veggies, protein, super, super important. Cutting out those refined sugars and ultra processed foods. Now, I am not one to be like, cut everything, because it has not worked for me ever. My mentality is, if you tell me I can't have it, I want it more. Is anyone else like that? Like, are you like that? Because if you tell me I can't, then that's it. I'm definitely doing it. So, cutting things has not always been the easiest for me, but adding more has really helped me. So, fruits, vegetables, you need several servings a day. And turns out the more colorful foods you eat that are natural whole foods, like carrots, celery, blueberries, those have a lot of micronutrients that your body needs and will help decrease your blood pressure. Now, when I say colors, I'm not talking like Skittles, okay? Like that has food coloring. Yes, they're colorful, but that's not the food I'm talking about. I'm talking about wholesome food that grows in the ground, on a tree, that sort of thing. Okay, so first things first, make sure you're getting proper nutrition and that you're feeding your body and not starving it. Like, believe it or not, your body needs calories. It does need carbs. Your brain needs that. So don't deprive yourself. Make sure you're getting the appropriate amount of calories, and talk with a dietitian if you have insurance. Oftentimes, insurance can cover it, especially if you are a diabetic or have other chronic diseases. Okay. Second one is hydration. Now, we're going to start with water. Water was something that I cannot really remember drinking a lot of, hardly ever, as a child. So I'm a millennial. I'm 36 years old. And my childhood memories of the things I drank were Hugs juices, like the little Hugs, Sunny D, a lot of pop. Okay. Now, in the Midwest, or especially in Ohio, we say pop. It's not Pepsi. I know my friends down south and in other parts of the country, it's either Coke or a soda. No, not here in Ohio. It is pop, and I'm going to still keep calling it pop. So I drank a lot of pop as a kid. There's a picture of me, and I'll have to find it, maybe share it with you guys on social media. But I think I was like 2 years old and drinking a Pepsi. Now, back then, nobody really knew how bad all that was for you, right? But we did. We drank a lot of it. And if we were going to drink water, it might literally be from the hose if we were just super hot and we just ran by it and just, turned it on for a second. So We didn't have the cute water bottles. We didn't have the water bottles that were like, keep going, you've got this, you're almost there. No, there wasn't any of that. Okay. A lot of sugary drinks. So you need a lot of water. Now, I'm saying a lot because it feels like a lot when you're drinking it. Now, there's such thing as too much water. And so you got to be careful with this. And you need to make sure that you do talk and consult with a medical professional on like what that is for you. I've always heard somewhere around half of your weight in ounces of body of water. Some people say that that's still a little bit maybe too much or not enough. I don't know. I just know for me that I try to get about half of my weight in ounces of water a day. So if I weigh 160 pounds, that would be about 80 ounces of water. Now, speaking of hydration, it's not just drinking water, it's also making sure you're not depleting your electrolytes. So you do need things like sodium and sugar, just not through pop, just not through a Coke or Pepsi, right? So we just want to make sure that you get those through, eating properly, and not just doing crazy workouts and then you're only drinking water, because you're not going to feel good and you can get really, really sick. So drink your water in short, and make sure you stay hydrated. It will help flush all those toxins out of your body, and turns out it lowers your blood pressure. Now, because we're talking about drinks right now, this isn't necessarily hydration, but this is just along the side of beverage. One of the things that I have found that helps me with managing blood pressure is hibiscus tea. Now, there's actually some research on this on the Cleveland Clinic's website, so it's not just some woo-woo thing that I'm talking about, but there is some science behind that hibiscus is nature's diuretic. Now, I didn't know what a diuretic was until I was diagnosed with hypertension, but it's a diuretic is basically like a water pill, right? It helps you pee, it helps you get rid of all that excess water in your body. Hibiscus tea will help you do the same thing. So you can just get organic hibiscus tea on Amazon. Reach out to me. I'll give you the link. I have no affiliate to them. But I love it, and it's one ingredient. You can have it hot or cold, and it actually helps you like with anxiety, like just a calming feeling can make you a little sleepy. So you want to be careful, to maybe not have it first thing in the morning if you're not a morning person. But you don't want to have it too close before you go to bed because you'll be peeing all night. So, but check it out. Just make sure that if you're taking a diuretic that you also don't drink hibiscus tea, because it's kind of like, then you're like doubling it. So just make sure you talk with your doctor. Okay, I digress. So we talked about nutrition. We talked about hydration. The next one is stress management. This one, I feel like I ebb and flow with this as well. One minute I have it under control, and the next minute it's like all hell breaks loose and it's out the window. But checking in with yourself. How are you doing? How are you doing today? We asked that at the very beginning, and I'm going to ask you again. Check in with yourself and kind of maybe put a number to it. Your stress level. Maybe I'm at a 4 today, or I'm at a 10. Okay, what do we need to do? What are some skills that I have? So when I was going through my divorce, I had no money. I mean, I'm just going to be real. I had like no money. I would try to save or scrounge up anything that I could. I went to my like first yoga class during that time period, and it was amazing for me. I had done meditation for the first time. I had tried a sound bath. Now, all those things do cost money. Massages, going to a gym, all those things that do help, but those do cost money. But what does not cost money is going out and putting your feet in dirt, walking on the grass, walking amongst trees outside. Now, we're going into the time of the year where that's a bit challenging. And if you're in the northeast or Ohio, we kind of joke about, okay, we're not going to see the sun probably until like next May because it gets dark and dreary and gray outside. But I want to force you and encourage you to step outside even when it's cooler and try to walk around like nature, because that will absolutely help you decompress. For some people, it's going for a walk or a little hike. But being in like on your couch and watching Netflix might feel good in the moment, but that's not really helping you manage stress. And that's really what this is about, is how do we manage the stress that comes into our life on a daily basis. I have found that if you are in a routine, whether if that is with exercise, it is with journaling, it's with going to therapy. So for me, the way I help manage my stress is I go to therapy consistently. Still to this day, 9 years later, I have a session. I never go past a month, but oftentimes it's every 3 weeks or so. So I still do therapy. I will still journal. I like to read books when I can, but a lot of times I will listen to podcasts. I will get to a yoga class if I can, go for a walk. When I was traveling all over the place and I was on my 5-week speaking tour, when I would get to an airport, I would walk a mile before I got on the plane. And that was a way for me to help kind of decompress and let some stress off of me as well. So for everyone, it's different, but we got to manage the stress, you guys, because it kind of kills you from the inside out. And I know that sounds like very harsh, but it's the truth. It's the reality. Stress does more damage than a lot of things. And hypertension is a silent killer because oftentimes there aren't really any symptoms. It might just feel like stress. So check in with yourself, and try to build in a routine. Okay, the next one is movement or exercise. I struggle with this so much, you guys. I have been in and out of CrossFit so many times over the last 8 or 9 years. It's like shameful. Every time I go back, I think they're just like, oh, there she is. We'll see her for a few weeks and then she'll be gone again. But what I've realized is, yeah, I don't necessarily love to work out, but for me, it's actually like getting to the gym. It's going somewhere, because that means it's like 20 to 30 minutes of by the time I drive and you get there in time for class, and then you have your class and then you have to drive again. It's almost 2 hours out of my day. So I started doing some home workouts and I bought a couple kettlebells, and resistant bands are good. Walking around my neighborhood, but that requires you to actually do it, including myself. I struggle with it. It's not something that is just natural to me. I have to make myself do it, and I absolutely ebb and flow. And when I work at home, I actually bought a desk now that I can stand at it and I can walk on like a walking pad, because I'm like, oh my gosh, when I shifted from having a full-time food service director job to a hybrid model of I work from home some days or I'm at the schools. Well, the days that I work from home, I've found myself sitting for a long time because I get so laser focused, and next thing you know, I haven't moved my body. So movement is key. My cardiologist says if I could try to get in like 30 to 60 minutes a day, even if it's like 4 or 5 days a week, would be ideal, and enough to like break a sweat and get your heart rate up. The cardiologist recommends, hands down, and I've talked to several of them now, is more of like an aerobic exercise. So think like more cardio, swimming, but that has always what has been suggested to me. I just haven't found anything that I'm just like super in love with other than walking. Like that, to me, I don't mind. But yeah, exercise, you guys, we got to do it. And we got to do it, women especially, so we don't lose our muscle mass, we need that. And so yeah, okay, exercise. We did it. We talked about it. Ugh. The last one is sleep. Now, this one I have always been pretty good at. I know when I am stressed out if I don't sleep well, because sometimes I might avoid things or I suppress things, but it always comes out in my sleep. So that's when I recognize, okay, we got to deal with this because I'm not sleeping. For me, I've rarely struggled with sleeping. As a kid, I always slept. I mean, I can remember sleeping till 10 o'clock or noon even. As an adult, I go to bed at 9 and I get up at 5. I mean, I sleep like 8 hours a night. Um, but like I said, when I am super stressed, that is not always the case. So when I do my keynotes and I go around and I ask, so how many of you are getting at least 8 hours of sleep? Hardly a hand in the room is raised. When I say how many of you get less than 5 hours, majority of the room raises their hand. And it blows me away because I can't function without 8 hours of sleep. But what I've learned on this journey with hypertension is when you sleep, your body is healing and recovering. It's kind of like when the trash men come, right? Like your waste management company comes and they take the trash away. That's what's happening when your body is sleeping. It's healing, it's repairing, and it's helping to get rid of all the toxins. So if you don't make it to that 6 to 8 hour mark, your body hasn't had enough time. And so it continuously gets interrupted, and your cells and your body doesn't have time to fully recover and recharge. And when that happens, everything works harder and not as efficient. So sleep, turns out, is really, really good for you. So put your phone away at night, you guys. Put your phone away at least an hour before bed. I'm not good at that now. I used to never have that habit, and now I feel like that's the way I decompress. Any of you like that, where you're kind of just like, I just need to watch something so mindless and dumb. But I also know when I do that, my sleep is affected. So some of the tips are: put your phone away an hour before bed. Don't watch TV an hour before bed because all that blue light kind of awakens the brain. So try to do things like reading a book, spending time with family, sit in meditation, in quiet or stillness, craft, journal, but get off the screens for sure. All right. So I shared with you the 5 key areas that have helped me manage my blood pressure without medication. And as always, I am not a medical professional, and I want you to take your advice from a trusted doctor, nutritionist, specialist, anyone. That's where I want you to get your medical advice from. But I wanted to share that with you because I thought, well, my gosh, those are pretty easy things relatively. You don't have to spend a ton of money in any of those areas. We just have to get it in a routine. Now, I heard this from Rachel Hollis years ago, and I absolutely love it. Remember I told you a little bit ago, I struggle with, if someone tells me you can't, I want it. So anytime I would try to stop drinking pop or not eat certain foods, I would just be like, I'm never going to have this again. Well, then what happens a few weeks later? You binge, you crash out, you binge, and then you're back at it again. And I heard her say, stop trying to eliminate and just start adding. And oh my gosh, that has been huge for me. So now instead of drinking a pop first thing in the morning, it's like, okay, well, let me get in so many ounces of water first. I'm going to add this first. And then if I still want to pop later in the day, I'll have it. Now, I really went away from drinking soda. I still have some from time to time, but I'm trying, I was drinking 6 cans a day, you guys. 6 cans of pop a day. Oh my goodness. And then when we did a taste testing with students at a school district, and our dietitian was showing different drinks and how much added sugar is in each of them. And I looked at that and then I said, well, what is the appropriate amount of added sugar? And then they told me, and I was like, 1 can of pop is over double the amount of sugar that's recommended in a daily diet. So I was like, okay, I've got to do something here. So don't force yourself to just stop everything. Just start adding things that are good in those 5 categories. So maybe it's I just need to start drinking water. Maybe that's it for you, right? I just need to have 8 ounces a day even. Maybe it's just I need to have a fruit or a vegetable. I need to go to bed maybe 15 minutes earlier tonight. Whatever category of wellness that you need to focus on, just pick one. Just pick one and add something. Stop. Don't worry about taking anything away right now. What I have realized is that my body will naturally avoid or weed out the things that it doesn't make it feel good. So, or it'll crave more. Like I know that when I walk, I feel really good. So I want to do more of that. All right. So we wrapped up those 5 pillars of wellness. And my hope for you is that you walk away today just feeling hopeful. Like, so you might be on medicine, you might have a diagnosis that you're not loving, you might have a situation where you may never be able to get off of medication. For example, you don't have your thyroid. Like the doctor said, none of those reasons are an excuse to not take care of yourself. It's just believing that you are worthy of that, that it's self-respect. I heard somebody else say, when I put food in my body, I ask myself, is this respecting my body? I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a really good way to think of it. Using food as fuel, not as a way to cope, right? I know food in our families has always been something that we've used to celebrate great things and has been used to cope with sad things and awful things that have happened in life. So it's just starting to kind of retrain our brain a little bit and ask ourselves, is this a form of self-respect? And is this going to bless my body? Is this going to do good things for my body? Yes, it might bring you joy in the moment. Like when I crack open a can of Pepsi, it brings me great joy. But later in the day, I may not feel the greatest or my blood pressure is higher. So, all right, you guys, no matter what's happening right now in your life, whether if the sun is shining or it's a dark, dark day, just know that you're worthy and that you matter. And it's okay to take time for yourself for just a moment. When you fill your cup, you're going to be able to fill everybody else's. I always say this. I believe that the level of self-care and the quantity of self-care that you give to yourself is a direct correlation to the amount of people that you can care for. So if you don't take time to pour into yourself, all those people that you want to take care of and who are counting on you, they're not going to get the best version of you. You're going to burn out, and then what's going to be left? So pour into your cup first, and everyone else will be taken care of. I promise you that. It's a mindset. So until next time, remember to keep burning your light from ash to dusk. I'll see you soon.